start this?
Say hello.
Hello.
My name is Bob. My name is Josh.
Welcome to No Instructions, number 12. I'm Bob.
And I'm Josh. Are we now two whole hands?
We are now at two whole hands. This is two whole hands worth of shows. Both of the six-fingered men together. Working on the Voltron set again, but we're on to the Black Lion.
The Black Lion. This is the biggest one.
The chest, or torso, I guess.
Abdomen? And the head?
Oh, he is the head too, that's right.
Mm-hmm.
How long do you think it's going to be before there's a Voltron movie? Like a feature film, like in the live-action Transformers? Hopefully not in that style, but, you know.
I was optimistic until you said in a live-action Transformers, and I went, ew, don't
Well,
do
but
that.
I mean, like, that's... I think that's how they would accidentally do it.
They would have to find, like, the... Ooh, would it be in the, like, Valerian, like, the tween or the teen paladins, or would it be, like, super popular mega movie stars?
I think they'd probably go the Power Rangers route of, like, teens.
I don't want to watch it then.
Yeah. The thing,
I'm slowly falling out of love with this idea the more we talk about it.
I mean, it might be kind of cool, but, like, part of what makes these and, like, the G1 Transformers and stuff so iconic is because they were cartoons. They were drawn to be comic books and cartoons, and so they are flat. They have large areas of color because that's quick and easy to make, and that's how we see them. But that doesn't translate to, you know, super 4K theater whatever. And so then they try to like with the Transformers, they need details, so much detail that it doesn't make sense.
Exactly.
And
it
I think
looks like two big balls of aluminum foil like flying around a city.
Yeah,
I don't know what's going on.
I think they would do the same thing with Voltron, even though the lions are so much more dependent on color as like their signifying thing. I don't know. Maybe somebody could do it
They're fairly
well.
simple.
Yeah, because they're cartoons on purpose. Here, I gotta get started here. All right, so speaking of, Bumblebee trailer came out
Look pretty fun.
yesterday, a couple days ago, sometime. It looks... So, I'm torn. Because I want it to be awesome because it shows G1 Transformers, but the fact of the matter is, I guarantee... Well, not the fact of the matter. I'm assuming that the fact of the matter... I'm making an assumption and calling it fact. Is that there is going to be a sequence somewhere near in the first third that explains who Bumblebee is, why he's not on Cybertron anymore. And to do that, they're going to have to show the battles, the war on Cybertron. And that is the one sequence where all of those Transformers will be G1 looking.
Oh, and then when they go to Earth, it'll just be the crazy detail looking.
Yep. Because everyone that you've seen... It would be cool. I'd love to see a movie on Cybertron. Like, we don't need humans in a Transformer movie. Just get rid of them. Do a movie on Cybertron about Transformers.
It seemed like the humans in the Transformers world just were a liability more than anything.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, we gotta keep these people safe.
Yeah.
Like, no, just let them go. You
Let 'em go.
You got stuff to do. I'm sure you're busy.
But I think that's how they're going to tie it into, like, the Bay-verse is, like, let's appease all the Transformers nerds by showing them, myself included, showing them G1 Transformers in history way back on Cybertron.
So that we can delete it.
And then that happened. Everybody feel happy.
You're welcome.
And then from now on, it's going to be...
But this isn't a Michael Bay movie.
It's not. In fact, one of the cool things that could potentially save it is that it's being directed by the guy that did Kubo and the Two Strings.
Great movie.
Fantastic movie. It's also his first live-action movie. Now, I don't have any idea if that's like hard for a director to translate from animation to live-action, but I kind of feel like doing a really good stop-motion animated movie would probably make you pretty good at most things. Because that seems like an entirely different type of filmmaking and preparation, and to be able to get expression out of like time-lapse,
Yeah.
you know, I don't know. I don't know anything.
I guess I'm worried
making
about the property more than anything. That to make the jump from claymation and stop motion to live action, I mean, I'm sure it's challenging and you want to do a good job and you want to be engaged with real people instead of these things that you can very, very much manipulate and be in control of all of the sequences and all of the emotions and all those things. Like, to jump to real people, I mean, I've never done it before, but I would assume would have its own set of challenges. But then jumping to a Transformers movie with the billions of dollars that are surrounded by that property, I'm sure is pretty daunting. So
True.
Anybody that would try to go like, well, I want to take it in this direction because it's a departure from a Michael Bay movie, even though the characters look extremely similar. Like, you've got a lot of people with a lot of purses waiting for you to do a good job.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know. I'm hoping for a decent movie. I mean, you can tell by the actors in the trailer of the two kids, specifically the girl, that they don't seem to be especially fantastic actors. Just like all the other humans in the Transformer movies, they're not particularly good actors. I mean, it's got John Cena in it, so maybe that should make it awesome. Just kidding. So I'm not exactly.
I wonder if the
convinced that it's
WWE universe produced this movie.
Whoa. Crossover.
And The Rock pops in somewhere.
Of course. Well, he's in everything else, so it wouldn't be surprising. Yeah, so I don't know. I'm not betting on anything fantastic, but I am really looking forward to seeing those G1 sequences, even if that's all they are, just a little, a battle sequence. I think that'll be cool.
I'm more excited to see that movie, even though I was not as huge of not Star Wars, but Transformers fan as you were. And I was turned off of Transformers after the first one. The first one was okay. I watched the second one. I'm like, you know what? This is enough of this. But I'm more excited about that movie than I am the Venom movie.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, what experience did you have with Venom? Like, what history?
I was a Spider-Man fan.
Okay.
So I was not a particular Venom fan. How a lot of people really enjoy the bad guy. Like, my son really loves the bad guys.
I don't know. I know nothing about him. Give me the lowdown on, because he seems like a bad guy, looks like a bad guy, but then he's like an anti-hero, kind of.
It's weird. There's just like in comic books, there's many stories.
Okay.
So the story that I remember, and man, if I get this wrong, please let me know that I got it wrong in the angriest way possible. Is that it's the series of symbiotes, right? So there's these goo type alien things that were on. I think it was on the moon. And then there was a character that went to the moon.
Eddie Brock. I do know that.
I didn't think it was Eddie Brock who went to the moon. I thought it was somebody else that went to the moon. Okay. Well, but anyway, and again, I could be wrong. It was a long time ago.
Larry Thompson?
His name was Steve. But anyway, it and Carnage and Doppelganger and the whole host of Spider-Man universe symbiotes can just inhabit someone and make them do bad, or exemplify the qualities that they have to make them bad. That I'm not exactly sure.
Oh, okay.
But the whole thing about him being an anti-hero, I don't know that. All I know about Venom is a bad guy, and Spider-Man fights him. So I don't know the anti-hero story.
Is there a reason? Well, okay, he may not be. I just assumed, since the movie is about, you don't typically have movies that are just about bad guys, but I guess there is a Joker movie coming out, so maybe there's that. But
which we need to talk about too.
Yeah, I just kind of assumed that there was some redeeming thing in him if he was the main character of a movie. Why does he look like Spider-Man? Because without ever having read the comics, I grew up thinking that's evil Spider-Man. Like Spider-Man was inhabited by this evil thing and then was bad for a while. But that's not the case, right?
No. It has the same kind of eyes. In the symbiote, when it's loose, just kind of goo form, it's got teeth that had the eyes, and then at one point Spider-Man did become inhabited by the symbiote, and that's where you see it shot webs and things, very similar to Spider-Man. But I don't really know. I don't know the answer to that.
It's we need a bad guy. I just fill Spider-Man with black, give him big teeth. Cheap. That's cheap. Okay, so yeah, not excited at all about that.
I just think it looks stupid. I think that I don't know if we said this on the show, in Avengers, in Infinity War, those like monsters that came down in Wakanda that were fighting like the whole host of heroes.
Yeah.
I thought those things were more convincing Venoms than the Sony depiction of Venom.
Huh. Just the shape?
Yeah, like their look. They had the same kind of like rounded kind of head with a bunch of teeth and a tongue thing. And I think that may have been what turned me off from Sony's preview, was they actually showed him. And then when they showed him, I was like, no.
Oh.
He kind of looks stupid. But
Yeah.
I'm not excited about it.
I'm not either.
But Deacon is. Deacon loves the bad guys.
It's rated R, right?
I don't know. I haven't given it that much attention. But if it is, sorry, pal. You don't get to watch it.
I feel like it might be.
That's probably where they're going to go with it, because he's a bad guy, and maybe they're just going to, like, wholly just take on, like, we're going to make this a bad guy movie about a bad guy who does bad things.
That wouldn't work.
I don't know.
I mean,
maybe they're trying to make Eddie Brock, like, maybe that's the conflict. He really is a good guy, but the bad guy is making him do all these bad things, so it's not necessarily a Spider-Man versus him. It's an internal struggle, or I don't know.
Him versus himself.
Yeah.
Versus himself.
I still don't want to watch it.
The Joker teaser thingy. I know nothing about, like, the plans for the Joker origin movie, other than the other day I saw this random clip of Joaquin Phoenix turning into a clown.
Mm-hmm.
But I hadn't really heard anything about what it is, when it is, why it's separate from
I don't know either.
everything else. DC's just having a hard time.
Can't leave well enough alone.
It's a mess. Like, I don't know. That's like a whole thing. But maybe DC just needs to decide, and maybe they have, that their stuff is not connected. They're just going to make movies.
I think that would probably be in their best interest.
At this point.
To just abandon the synergy of all those movies and characters altogether. Because I heard that Aquaman was supposed to be a standalone movie.
It is.
It wasn't supposed to tie in.
Right. But it's still him. It's still the same actor. So it kind of inherently ties in. Wonder Woman 84 is probably the same way because it's in the past. Yeah. So it can be unrelated. But it's still tied in because of her. And, like, they're both awesome. You know? The people that play them are great. I loved Aquaman and Justice League. I thought it was a lot of fun. And Gal Gadot is awesome as Wonder Woman.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, trying to get everybody together and keep someone to play Batman and keep someone to play the Joker, and, like, I think they might just need to let it go. Which is kind of a bummer. Because I think Marvel's done such a good job at creating a universe and keeping it consistent. And
man, that's got to be expensive when you think about it. I
can't even imagine.
Good grief.
But think about how much money they've made from it as well.
True. But I remember listening to people talk about the Lord of the Rings, and they were like, you know how difficult it is and how much money it would cost people to keep the same cast for 3 movies. And, like, they played those concurrently, or they filmed them concurrently.
Yeah.
And it was the same thing for the Harry Potter movies.
Yeah, for real.
It was like they had to keep that same cast over the like youth of the entire cast. Like that's bonkers.
It is. I wonder what their contracts were like, because it had to account for increased success. It had to have.
Oh, whether the kids got like a certain percentage of perpetuity or anything?
Yeah. You know, because like whatever these unknown actors are going to get paid to do a movie when they're 11 can't be the same as when they're 18, 19. And like whether the movies did well or not, like you can't make the same amount of money over 10 years.
We should ask Macaulay Culkin. See how he's doing. We should reach out to him.
Yeah.
Just for this one question.
Macaulay, if you're listening, give us a call. We want to know.
Well, I remember hearing like when Tim Allen was cast to play Buzz Lightyear, or his original contract, he only got like a couple $100,000, and then when they re-upped to do Toy Story 2, it like went over tenfold. So I guess it's just where you find people in their career. Like,
yeah.
I don't know. You got to have some really influential people to be able to fight for you at that point.
Yeah, that's true. But at the same time, like, it's maybe not always valid, but it is valid because if that person is a big enough draw to add credibility to the movie, it will increase the sales of the movie, theoretically covering some of their cost. Maybe.
What am I doing here?
Let's see. What else has come out since we were here? Captain Marvel trailer.
I liked it.
Thoughts?
And I liked it because it didn't say a whole lot.
Yeah, it was nice.
So there was very little of an opinion to form because they left it super vague.
Mm-hmm. That's another character that I don't know anything about.
No.
And I'm fine with that. Like it's kind of cool because I've ended up learning, and like a lot of the Marvel characters, I didn't know a whole lot about. I really didn't know anything about Black Panther, Black Widow, Hawkeye. Who else? I don't know. There were quite a few of them I don't really know anything about. Scarlet Witch, all of the kind of B-list, superheroes.
But that's
there.
Marvel, though. Marvel had to work with B-list characters, which I think is super crazy.
Yeah.
Besides them doing right what DC is not doing right, they had to do that without the major pillars of the Marvel universe. Like, they had to do this entire thing with all B-roll characters because Fox had the Fantastic Four and Spider-Man. Fox had the X-Men, like the most popular Marvel characters of all time. So they built the MCU out of understudies.
What's ironic is that now those tables have turned.
Yep.
When you think of Marvel superheroes, you think of the ones that they used. They created them, or they turned those B-list into, these are the A-list. Mm-hmm. And you don't think of X-Men as Marvel characters anymore.
And honestly, I think of X-Men as like an imploding star because when they went back to the weird time, like I'm going to go back, it's not Patrick Stewart, it's James McAvoy, like we're back in time, but now it's a bunch of little kids. And I felt that was grasping at straws. Like, I was like, man, you guys are hurting. You just need younger faces because your story is just dying.
Well, partially, but also just because you can't continue on with like senior citizens as the key characters forever. I mean, they were trying to, I think partially, were trying to safeguard their future. Like, Patrick Stewart is not going to be around forever. He's not that old, but he's not going to continue to play that same character over and over and over and over forever. And so if they can replace all the faces with people that have a longer life expectancy, then they have more movies.
Yeah, but I think that's in the storytelling. But they just went and they hedged their bets up front and were like, we're just going to not pay attention to all that. We're like, you're all early versions of you now. I think that's just, that bugs me as a storytelling. Like, because look at, I guess they did it to Luke Skywalker and to Han Solo. And inadvertently pour one out for Princess Leia. But it just increases the hype.
How did they do it to Luke Skywalker?
They killed off Luke Skywalker.
Oh, I think, yeah.
But it was emotionally tying rather than like a sleight of hand type thing, I feel. Like it was part of the story. It was just as engaging rather than like, oh, that guy's old. Like, we should get a younger guy. Like, how do we do that? Like, I don't know. They're superheroes. Like, make them shapeshift into a younger, handsomer version.
Speaking of, that's not really what I meant, but I already had this in mind. Have you seen the picture of Sebastian Stan next to Mark Hamill from Empire? No. Okay, so Sebastian Stan, Winter Soldier. Mm-hmm. There's a photo of him with, like, I don't know if it's his short hair or they put his face on something else, but they took his face and they put it right next to Mark Hamill from Bespin. And they look almost identical. Yeah. And I couldn't see that separate. When you see Winter Soldier, I wouldn't even think at all. But man, like dead on. And so if they were looking for somebody to play young Luke Skywalker, Like he could jump into it in a heartbeat. And he's a good actor. I mean, I think he could probably pull it off as well. But I was really surprised.
Dang it, I did it again.
What'd you do? Miss a piece?
I have these 2 very important pieces, or that seem like they're not extras, and I don't know where they go. Oh, here we go.
They go on the front.
On the back. But this is the... I don't know what's the front.
Yeah, they go right there.
Yes, there we go.
We got away from Captain Marvel. Captain Marvel, I think looks really interesting. I like how little they talked about. I also like that she has some mystery. Like she doesn't really seem to understand herself.
Yes,
That's
which I like.
Yeah.
She doesn't know who she is either. But they're leaking that she's some type of space traveler. She was in the Air Force, and then she was in some type of spaceship. And then she was being tortured, it looked like, at a certain point.
Yeah, I think she's not sure whether she's a human that went to space or a space thing that came to Earth and acted like a human for a while. So,
interesting.
It'll be cool to see. And apparently, like, again, that Captain Marvel I don't know anything about. Apparently, she's, like, the most powerful being in the universe.
She's one of.
One of?
Yeah.
Why is that? What's her story?
I don't really know.
Oh,
but I looked up one of the little clickbaity, like, who could kill Thanos kind of things. And there's all these godlike characters like Thor, but I don't know their names. I know they look like. But there's a bunch of them. I mean, there's Janet and
Janet.
Horatio.
Horatio.
We're off hanging out.
Yeah. Cool. Thanos is like, man, sure hope I never meet up with Janet.
I know. Janet's on vacation right now. Get the Infinity Stones. So that's what took him so long. A bunch of people were complaining, like, why was it now? Why all of a sudden?
Waiting for Janet to go on vacation.
Yeah. Janet's taking a nap.
Let's see what else has happened in nerd news lately. I had somebody tell me that I was not a nerd. I claimed to be a nerd.
Offended by this?
The other day, during the Soundwave video, I said something about being a nerd, about like, oh, I'm a total nerd or whatever.
Yeah.
And he was like, technically, you're not a nerd, and then pushed his glasses up. I could see it in the comments that he pushed his glasses up.
He's part of the nerd guild, and you don't have a card.
Look up the definition. And so...
Did you?
I did.
I think that puts your foot in the door.
I think he may have even put it in the thing. I don't remember. But, you know, it's like one of those words that has taken on a meaning non-exclusive to the original definition. Because I think the original definition of it is that, like, you are all in on a single subject. And we think of that as someone who is... I guess the actual definition is a little more narrow. Like, it's you are all in on one thing. So if you're a nerd... I think that
thing for a nerd was more sci-fi, tech, computer type oriented stuff. And now you guys talk about like knife nerds or whoever nerds.
No, I don't talk about that.
Jimmy does.
Jimmy talks about that.
Whereas people call like safety Nazis, like those people that take up a cause blindly and just like go with it and try to like change everybody else's mind about, no, it has to be this way. So, I mean, nerd seems like a pejorative term, like it's and kind of slanderous. And now it isn't, because it's like monetarily beneficial for someone to be into computers and to like the geek kind of culture has taken over mainstream. So if you're this anti like nerd, like in Revenge of the Nerds, and you're the guy screaming at everybody, like you are in the minority. Because then you can't go see the highest grossing films of all times.
That's right. Yep.
You can go watch Varsity Blues one more time, but you're not going to have very many people wanting to come hang out.
Yeah. All right. I'm almost done with this bag. Oh, you've already started on the next bag?
A little bit.
Bag 8?
I wasn't going to brag.
Bag 8. All right. On to bag 8.
So we did learn from some of the comments about the Legos being loud, which is something that we knew. So now we'll pre-dump the bags.
I disagree with that myself.
That people have said that, or that it was a thing to be
No, that it's
about?
a thing to complain about. Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't know, whatever. People complain about whatever they want, but it doesn't seem worthwhile. We're building Lego kits on the show. There's going to be Lego noise. So, you know. All right, what else is going on? Oh, I always wanted to talk about music.
I like music.
Specifically, the new Thrice album.
I like the new Thrice album.
It's been on repeat for me indefinitely. It will be for a long time.
I thought we were going to talk about a certain person that we know on a certain podcast that said that all stringed instruments are pretty much irrelevant.
Nah.
I thought we were going to refute that.
Actually,
have a dance battle.
Should we talk about that? Can we talk about that?
We can do whatever we want.
We can.
Oh,
no.
Hold on. This just in. We can't.
We can't. Okay. Turns out we can't.
But we can.
No, I want to talk about the Thrice album.
Okay.
Maybe do like a little mini review.
Ooh.
If you have any thought, I've been listening to it a lot, not just like passively listening to it, as I like to do sometimes, and I've kind of pulled some stuff out of it that I really like. Some of the topics and some of the lyrics and some of the production.
Well, enlighten us.
I don't know if it's enlightening at all, but I don't know. So a couple of the things that
this is Palms.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. When the Amazon little jar announces it, she says, Thrice, palms.
She says it weird.
Palms. Yeah, it's kind of weird. I don't know. Like I like the variety of it. It's got a lot of different style variety, but it still stays, it's like cohesive, I think. The first song we talked about the other day kind of has like a Stranger Things vibe on the intro. Just that like...
That initial song.
That synth.
Yep.
And it's just really just there right at the beginning. But I think that's a cool addition because that is different than the rest of the stuff on the album.
It is.
Did you ever hear the 4 EPs that they did? I know you've probably heard the songs from them, but did you distinctly hear those 4 EPs? There was like land, sky, water, and earth or whatever. I don't know what they were called. They may have just had those names, but...
Captain Planet.
Yeah. But they did these 4 EPs, and I don't remember if they put them all at the same time or within a row, but they were thematic. So there was one that was all about sky, one that was all about water. Have you ever heard the song The Wailer?
See, okay, this is one thing about me. I don't know the names of songs.
Okay.
If I hear it, I go, yeah, I know that song.
Okay.
But I don't know what it's called.
There's a song by Thrice called The Wailer, and it is beautiful. And it's one of those few things that just like kind of crushes me on the inside.
Yeah.
It's about this whaler, this guy who always has to go out to sea. He has to leave his family, and his daughter's like talking to him about like, why do you have to go again? And it's so that he can go out and make a living to provide for his family, but he has to leave his family to love his family, that kind of thing. But it's just a beautiful song. And it's got this piano line that's kind of weird in the background, but it has this like water wave swell to the way that the piano line runs. So it has this water vibe to it anyway. Yeah. But so that's on the water one. There's one that's a bunch of digitally stuff. That's where I was going with this. That there's one of them that has a lot of electronic instrumentation on it, whereas most of their stuff is guitar, drums, bass, whatever. This one of those EPs, and I don't remember the theme of that one, but it has a lot of synth, a lot of electronic stuff, and there's some really awesome songs on that. One of them, I think the Earth one, is a little more acoustic, a lot of acoustic guitar and acoustic instruments. And then the Sky one is a mixture. But there's a song on the Sky one that's about Daedalus. Is that his name? Icarus.
Flew too close to the sun.
Yeah. So that's all from the dad's perspective about talking to his son. Like, I'm trying to take you away from here. I'm trying to save you. We're trying to get out of the situation. But you're just grasping it too much, flying too close to the sun, and he loses his son, whatever. So there's just, their lyrics are amazing, and they're really good at taking those ideas and boiling them into a story that works as a lyric, but there's other stuff behind it. All of that to say, the electronics at the beginning of the first song on Palms reminded me of the electronic EP. Cool. Because that's the only other time that I've really heard them do really overt synth or whatever. I don't know. That took me a long time to say. If you haven't heard those 4 EPs, you should definitely go.
That sounds interesting.
Yeah, they're cool. In fact, they did a tour that I didn't get to see because I've never seen them live. They did a tour of all 4 of them, I think, and they broke down the set into 4 separate segments.
Oh, that's cool.
And so they would do a handful of songs and then break, come back with different instrumentation and do that one. Break, come back. So it was like 4 mini concerts.
Well, that's awesome.
Yeah, different styles and stuff. My friend Adam's got to see that one. Anyway, that first song I think is really cool. Great lyrics. It's called Only Us, I think. I don't have stuff for every song, but now I can't even think of the names of the songs. Which
see, and that's my problem. Is I would buy a CD, and I would just take the CD out and put it in my car or put it in my whatever CD player, Walkman kind of thing.
Yeah.
And just listen to the album, ones that I particularly like over and over and over again. But I never went back to like reference the album art or the lyrics or like the names. So even now, like there's this really awesome Alice in Chains song that I like. It was on their self-titled album. It wasn't one of the more popular songs. And I love it. And I think it's called Drain You. I think that's what it's called. But it took me a long time, and it until recently where I'm trying to get the Echo to find it or to play it. And I just like play that album. And I'm like, next. Yeah. And so I know all these ones until I hit the one that I'm looking for. I'm like, that's the one.
Right.
So I'm terrible about knowing the names of songs.
So I mean, it works better if the name is in the lyrics, which is not always.
Right.
But if you can pay attention to the lyrics really well, sometimes they'll stick. Like there's a couple of the songs on this new album. I don't know a lot of the names of the songs, but when a song really stands out, or I listen really deeply to it, I'm like, oh, that lyric right there, that's the name because I saw it on the paper that one time, or on the cover or whatever.
The Gray is that way.
Yeah.
Just because it's in the song.
It says it 1,000 times. Yeah. And Only Us
prominent.
is the same way. It's like the main line. So historically, are you you said you only listen to, or you mostly listen to the songs that are your favorite. Are you a single listener or a favorite song playlist person or an album?
I'm an album listen to her.
Listen to her.
Yeah, so I used to have to do the dishes at my house all the time. Like, and we didn't have a dishwasher, so I would just wash them all for a family of 5. And that would be the time just to put in a CD and just let it go all the way through. And it's part of the reason why digital music now, it irritates me a little bit because certain albums will flow a song immediately into another one, and now there's the digital like pause next song where it breaks that up, and that really bugs me.
Yeah, but that's been that's been an issue for a long time. Like ever since you could digitize even a CD, like if you were to rip a CD, it's still the player puts that 1 second pause in between them. That would bug me too. Yeah, I'm definitely an album listener. I would prefer to listen to. I mean, I definitely have favorites. Songs
Absolutely.
that I will, if I have time for one song, I'll jump to that one. But
I think music. I mean, really good music, and Thrice absolutely like it affects you and it makes you feel. And I can't exactly specify why. Or if there was a similar song, I would go, I particularly like this part about it. Like, I like it when the bass drops because I'm a bass player. And so I really like it when there's a little hesitation and then it just boom and the bass hits. I love that part. Thrice does that often, and I really like it. And then sometimes in the same song where you would think that like it would be a tom hit and then the bass is going to drop, but later in the song, it doesn't do it the same way.
Yeah.
And I like that because it's, I don't know why I like it. I just really do. But
that's
a
sign of really good music production. When they don't take the same thing and repeat it every single time.
It's where you can do verse, chorus, bridge and be entertaining, but you can take a similar song structure and make it completely different.
Yeah.
And even in that album, like there's a lot of really emotionally driven music. There's a lot of piano. There's some strings, like not like guitar strings. There's a female vocalist in some of their songs. Like I don't know. It gives me in the feels, and
Yeah.
I don't really know why.
Yeah.
There's some of the songs that the lyrics, like on the last album, where the lyrics are particularly like poignant, but I don't know. I just it evokes emotion, and even when I'm not really listening to it,
Yeah.
like where if it's playing in the background, like I don't have to focus on it. I don't have to go like, oh, this particular set of words speaks to me.
Mm-hmm.
It's all of it together, and I really like when a vocalist or when a lead singer can use his voice like an instrument and not just a thing to deliver words.
Yeah.
And Thrice does that really, really well.
Yeah. And he has a pretty, for someone who's in a rock band, he has a surprising amount of variety in the way that he sings and the emotion that he can get across. Yeah, I agree. And so Dustin Kinsrew is his name. He's a really good lyricist, really good singer, and his lyrics cross a pretty wide gap of stuff. Like, even on the last album, but on this one as well, there seems to be a song that's politically driven, but not. I don't feel like it's like partisan. I think it's just like, here's the state of things. Like, whatever is happening right now is pretty awful. Like, there was on the last album, there was one song about from the perspective of a drone pilot. Did you notice that?
Yes. Well, I didn't know it was from a drone pilot. I got that it was from some type of soldier.
Yeah.
Or somebody in the military.
I
Yes,
may have just
got
assumed that it was a drone pilot, but I think he talked about killing people at a distance, basically, and so I just assumed that was the case.
And I took that as an emotional distance.
Huh.
And because that's how I related to that part of that.
Yeah.
But
Interesting.
you mentioned drone pilot, and now I paused there because that may seem a more, I guess, contextually appropriate than what I thought. But it's music, and it can be whatever I want it to be.
That's absolutely the truth. Yeah, but so like that one, talks about, and there's like a part in that song where he goes to get help on it, and they just say like, "Suck it up," like this is your job.
About
that
the
kind of
chaplain,
thing.
right?
Yeah. So there's that. Then on this album, there's one called "Blood on Blood." That's every little instance, like it's the sequence of, he says two things next to each other. He's like, and this, or this and this, or this and this, but they're all blood on blood. And the cool thing is all of those comparisons are like he says a scimitar or a shepherd's crook.
Mm-hmm.
And then he says a billy club and a booted foot or something like that. But he's doing these like, it doesn't matter which side of the battle you're on. There's all these battles that are all going on, and when it boils down to it, it's all blood. It's all blood on blood. And I think it's just like a beautiful way to say, like, there is so much going on. There are two sides to so many situations right now, and it's all exactly the same thing. Like, we're all full of the same gunk. But it's just a really, really good song. And I think it could be, like, something like that could be glossed over very easily because it's a rock song, and if you don't really...
Yep.
But,
and I think some of their songs are faith-driven.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
But they present it in a way, like the one song, I'm going to mess these lyrics up. But like, I don't know what's outside of this room. It was on the last album. What song is that?
The Window?
Window. Is that what it is?
Yep. Yeah, he's talking about looking through a window and how, I can't remember the context of all. Yeah, that's the song.
Yeah, it's having faith in something, but still having, doubt is a real thing.
Mm-hmm.
But still being able to boil down, like, but I don't know what is there.
I think that's what The Gray is about. I may be wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're talking about him, like, when he talks about, like, leaning into the gray, I think, if we can talk about faith for a minute, I think regardless of what your faith is, I think there's this tendency to like be fully in on it and to never admit that you doubt stuff, because that means that you don't have faith. I think that's the dangerous thing that people, don't act this way, or that's going to tell everybody that you're not quite sure what you believe.
Or if you do have those doubts, that you are a bad version of whatever it is, because you don't like 1,000% in all the facets of all the things, just buy in.
Right.
And so especially if you're young in your faith and you're listening to music, like having somebody reassure you that to have doubts about things, but at the same time, like giving hope to it, not doubting in a way that's like, oh, that stuff is cockamamie. For whatever faith that you happen to have, it's encouraging.
Yeah. Yeah, and I could be wrong about what that song's about, but it sounded to me, it's like another one of those things where you just apply it to yourself.
Yep.
Right? It sounds to me like it's talking about, there's so many unknowns. I used to think everything was so black and white and so cut and dry, but now I'm just going to lean into the fact that there's more going on here than I understand.
Yep.
It's not all black and white. It's not all so straightforward. There's some maturity in that too.
Absolutely.
You know? So yeah, I think that's what that one's about. There's another one that I was listening to when I was running yesterday, and I can't remember the name of it, but it really hit me when I was listening to the lyrics. Let me pull it up. Your phone's going crazy.
Yeah, it's Forby.
Oh, Forby, we're recording a podcast. Please stop.
And it's Brandon who edits this podcast. Brandon, you're interjecting.
Let me just find this, the name of the song. All right, so there's, Just Breathe.
I like that song.
So the lyrics in that, now I can't even think of them.
I know, right?
Oh my goodness. It talks about being in the moment. It's saying like,
no, it's a different song.
Can we play it? I guess we can't get in trouble for playing it.
That's what I'm going to do. It's my podcast. We can do whatever we want. We can have maybe Brandon, like...
Here it is. Stay deep in the moment. Just breathe. Feel the flow of all things. In the moment, sway. So it's like... just breathe and enjoy where you are right now. And for some reason that hit me really hard because I think I'm also listening to a book about like being enough, about like not always feeling like you have to do more all the time. And that little sequence, and he repeats that sequence a whole bunch of times. And it's also kind of like a circular lyric where I like those. He does a lot of that. Where the end of a sentence could be the beginning of the next sentence, but it doesn't have to be. Yeah. You know, so kind of just is this thing, and he can repeat it a whole bunch of times and it doesn't feel like you're starting over a sequence. But that song,
and that's where the female vocalist comes in.
Yeah.
And it's peaceful, like it's a rock album that makes you feel deep emotions about things that you've come to internalize and that are intrinsically just important to you while being a rock album.
Yeah, it's good.
Kashmir never made me feel that way. Sorry, Robert Plant.
Let's see. There's one about everything called Everything Belongs.
Yep.
Which I think is a really good one.
I think it is too. Again, if we are interpreting this correctly, which it's music, it's art, it's your own interpretation. That I think when you mention them being kind of somewhat politically or socially motivated, that's what I take from that song. But again, I haven't listened to it as deep.
Yeah.
Don't be excluding things, and don't be excluding people, or don't be excluding moments in your life. Like you got to take all of it together.
Yeah. Let's see. We talked about Blood on Blood. Hold Up a Light is a really good one. It's got a cool little beat to it. It kind of talks about being light and darkness, I think. My Soul, I don't remember the lyrics to. Anyway, it's a really good album. It's called Palms. Palms. If you want to go listen to it, you definitely should. And if you have any of the services, the music services, it's pretty free.
Amazon Music.
Yeah.
Allows you to play it.
Yeah, it's a good one.
My daughter likes it.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, she was listening to Frozen, and she walked out of the room, and I turned that album on. And she sat down, and she's kind of like, just swayed there in the chair with me. We were just having a moment, listening to The Gray. And I was just kind of singing to her, and it worked. Yeah. She let it go for just a second.
Let it go. That was funny. I mean, kind of. Not really. But. My kids like them a lot too. They like. They seem to like pretty much anything. which I guess is good.
Your kids, I mean, because you and your wife have pretty awesome kind of musical tastes, like they are well versed in a lot of different things.
Yeah. They also listen to a couple of things that I just absolutely hate.
Which they got my kids in on.
That.
Listening to Blue
by random 90s fake techno band. I don't know who they are.
My 2-year-old was trying to get me to play it on the Echo the other day, and I didn't understand what she was saying. And she was getting so mad at me. And Deacon was like, she wants you to play Blue.
She wants you to play blah, 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 blah.
I don't want to play that song.
Yeah, me neither. When our kids watch Disses, they get to pick whatever music's on. That's like you were saying. But everybody has to hear it because it's playing through a speaker in the kitchen. And so, unfortunately, when Rush has to do the dishes, he picks that song over and over. So I ended up putting a cap on it, like they can listen to it one time.
My parents, let me see. My dad probably would have disapproved of the music that I listened to if he really would have understood. My mom was kind of cool. Like, she went to Kiss concerts and stuff back in the day, so she was
nice,
more accepting. Like, I remember my first concert, which could be a cool conversation.
Ooh.
Yeah. So my first concert was Korn and Rob Zombie in Biloxi.
Really?
Yeah. Because that's where I was at the time.
Yeah. Yep.
And it was an awesome show. But Korn is one of those things that...
Really good with butter.
Butter for president.
Butter for mayor.
But Korn live is not as good.
Oh, yeah?
Because it's a lot of like screamy and like emotional, and it sounds more whiny in real life. And now that I'm out of like that like Korn phase,
right,
I can easily see that it was very
You've offloaded some of your angst.
Yeah. My made up angst, because I was a white kid in a suburb who didn't really want for anything.
Life is so hard.
You're trying to interject like depth and some brooding into your life, and I'll do that by music where other people are angry because of their woes.
Yeah.
But Rob Zombie show, that show was awesome.
Really?
Yes. It had like 30-foot tall robotic monsters.
Whoa.
Spitting fire. It was cool. They played White Zombie stuff from back in the day. It was cool. Hands down. Corn show?
Yeah.
I'm like, so that's what marijuana smells like.
It sounded like you said corn shell. Corn shell?
I could leave corn shells.
I don't know my first concert. We went to a bunch of like Christian concerts growing up. So a bunch of like Petra and Amy Grant and Michael W. Smith and stuff like that. As far as like the first concert that I went to, well, we also went to goodness gracious, how many sentences am I going to start before finishing one? My parents really liked the Beach Boys. That was their first date. They went to a Beach Boys concert.
Oh, yeah. You're talking about that.
So anytime the Beach Boys were in town, we went. So we saw them a couple of times. One time I saw them and Ray Charles.
Oh, wow.
That was pretty amazing. Even as a child, I realized that was pretty awesome. And the Beach Boys put on a good show. So, like, I enjoyed that. But I think the first concert that I went to on my own or on, by my own choice was Smashing Pumpkins. That's the first one I remember.
Yeah.
And it was probably my senior year in high school. I don't remember exactly what year that was. Had to drive to Louisville. Went up by myself. And it's funny because I remember somewhere during the show, I got picked up. And I wasn't like down in the pit. Yeah. Okay. I wasn't down in the pit. I was a little farther back. And it was a pretty big pit. But I got picked up and ended up on top of everybody, got passed around and groped pretty heavily. And then got put down, right? And so then went back to watch the rest of the concert, and it was great. Then that night the next night on the news, they showed a shot from center, about halfway back of the concert, and it was about that the Smashing Pumpkins had been in town. And right as they're showing the shot, I pop up right out of the crowd. And I was like, "Whoa, that's me!" And it was pretty far away, but I knew what I was wearing. I could tell it was me, and I was the only person. Went straight up, and I'm just like flopping around for just 2 seconds. It's pretty funny.
So is that what they do with these shows, Bobby?
Yep. They throw you around like a rag doll, and then touch you in all the places that you don't want to be touched.
I had floor tickets for a couple shows, but I never wanted to be in a mosh pit. That seemed like the stupidest thing.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Nothing seemed appealing about that.
Well, and I've been in different types of pits. Like, that type is mostly people just kind of, like, writhing, not, like, violent. But when I was growing up, there were a bunch of hardcore bands here in town. It was a big straight edge scene. So there were tons of punk bands, hardcore, and every variation of those things. And they were all friends, so they would have a show, and like 20 bands would play at this show. Everybody would play the 2 songs that they know or whatever, and they'd all use the same gear, and it all sounded exactly the same and whatever. But, in those cases, the people there to, air quote, listen, because they're not really listening, are really just there to beat people up in the pit. So that pit was entirely different in those type of shows, because it was like, you go in there, you're coming out bloody. Every single time.
Skunking? There was a name.
Yeah, that's like a particular move where you at least,
Rob Zombie show I watched from afar.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, those dudes are super high and just like punching each other. Like me.
Yeah.
No thanks.
And then, what was the other? Oh, then ska got to be a thing.
That was
when I was in college.
Pros or cons that someone asked us about how we felt about ska music.
So my first exposure to ska, how far are we in here? 51 minutes? My first exposure was really through some friends of mine were in a band called Squad 5-0. And they were pretty big. They toured and had record deals and stuff. And when they first started, they were a ska surf band. And they had been in a punk band before called BMX. And it was these 2 twin brothers. Then they started Squad 5-0. And it was like ska. And then they would break into like a surf thing. And it was the coolest. I love surf music. It was so cool. There was just like this pop kind of punk jump to it. Okay. And then the ska up thing. And it was really cool. And then that evolved. They played with us, the band that I was in, they played their first show with us. So it evolved over a few shows into the surf thing disappeared. More punk came in. And then it was like this ska punk, which was pretty much what everybody else was doing at the time. And then they got signed, they went on tour, and then while they were on tour, it evolved further through a couple of albums into like glam rock. And so by the time they got, and they're still playing, like they all grew up, split up, did different things. They're a year or 2 older than me now. And they got back together recently and started playing some shows in LA. Super cool guys. But it turned into like this glam rock thing, like full on. It didn't have any traces of the ska and it didn't have any traces of the punk other than that they were just like rocking out and being crazy. But they really leaned hard into the glam rock thing. The few times I saw them at the end.
So I think we need to define our terms for some people.
Okay.
So ska music. Is there a particular band that, more mainstream band that gives some people some reference? Are we talking like the Boss Tones?
Yeah, the Boss Tones were probably the most popular that would touch into that world.
Okay.
It was a mixture of the reggae rhythms with the pop tempos. I think was that's where ska came from, I think.
So Sublime. Is Sublime ska music?
Sublime is like a Southern California.
Is that the surfing music that you referenced?
No. Surf. Okay. When I'm talking about surf music, I'm talking about like 1960s Deltones, Telstar, like right. That kind of stuff, like instrumental surf music. Which at the time the Beach Boys were kind of like the popular neutered. That sounds mean.
They started to get quite Jimmy Buffett.
Right, but they started out as kind of like a softer, like fake surfers. They were like posers.
Okay.
From a musical perspective, I don't know if they actually surfed or not. I'm not judging them, but I'm just saying like their music was kind of like poser surf music.
Got it.
It's like pop.
But then you look at monkeys of surf music.
Yeah. Okay. When you look at some of the other bands that were doing, like Dick Dale is this surf guitarist. I think he might have written Wipeout. I could be wrong about that, but he was like a hardcore, like, I'm just a surf guy.
Yeah.
Man, I just do surf music, and I'm never going to be poppy, and I'm never going to be famous, and I'm never going to be else. But anyway, That was what I thought of as surf music.
Remember, I used to listen to Boss Tones in my friend's room because he was from California, and I'm from the Panhandle of Florida. So there's country music, and then like country music, and then the pop station that played the same songs on a loop every 2 hours. But like, he was from California.
Yeah.
Like, whoa, and that's where I heard Korn because he was from Barstow, the same town that they were from, or Bakersfield, not Barstow. And so I heard the Boss Tones and Sublime and Korn. I was like, this is fun. Korn really wasn't quite fun, but like Sublime was fun.
This is really happy stuff. I like. Yeah.
And I wanted to start playing music because my brother bought a guitar. He's 3 years older than me. And I remember listening to Sublime, going like, the bass sounds way more fun to play. Like just as a soothing, like background instrument, like. You get to splash around a little bit more on the bass. You don't have to be as technically correct because you're not as upfront as lead guitar.
Interesting. I would wholly disagree with that.
Really?
Yeah. But that's okay.
I mean, in the music, it's more apparent, but as the bass player, you are not as important as the lead singer or the guitarist, like in a band, when I was in a band. So it allowed me to do whatever I felt like doing. And I love that like low, hearty whole note, like where it shakes your insides. Like, I love that sound. I think I just finished this bag. It still didn't tell us why we have all these golden tools.
So they're right there.
Yeah, but you don't do anything with them.
Oh,
I'm sorry. We're talking about the Voltron set. So we just built Voltron's abdomen for the Black Lion, and there are these little golden tools. Like there's a little golden drill. I'll hold that up to the camera. And a ratchet and a magnifying glass and a screwdriver and a little oil can. And so all you diehard Voltron from back in the day fans, let me know why there are gilded tools here.
Gilded tools.
Quite ornate.
Oh, I thought of something a second ago and I was going to ask you and now I lost it. We were talking about bass. We were talking about Boss Tones. Talking about
some stand-up bass in the Boss Tones.
Oh man, what was it? It was a band. What was it? I don't know. I lost it. I need a notepad so I can scribble down. That's what I do for the other show. I scribble down things while Jimmy talks, and I wait 20 minutes and then ask him about the thing that I was going to ask him. Well, it's almost an hour. We got anything else we want to talk about? You want to talk about Maker Faire at all? Want to save that? Not talk about it?
I mean, that's an entire topic.
Okay. Maybe talk about that next time?
Sure.
Or not, or whatever. Okay, cool.
There was one pro or con that we were talking about earlier,
okay,
before I forget.
Oh, yeah.
So we were going to lunch, and we couldn't figure out what we wanted to eat for lunch. And then you rambled off hamburger, pizza, something else.
Yeah.
And then why a pizza hamburger would not be good?
It's a thing. It exists. There are hamburger pizzas, and there are pizza hamburgers.
Okay. How do you feel about taco pizza?
I think it's the same problem as hamburger pizza.
Which is?
This is a big one. I'm just kidding. It's the red sauce. The red sauce doesn't make sense in most contexts. The red sauce works with it. The red sauce makes something taste like pasta, pizza, in the Italian food realm. And so when you try to make a burger flavored piece of pizza or a taco flavored piece of pizza or anything else, the sauce won't let it be that thing that you're trying to make it into. Now, if you take a barbecue chicken pizza, it doesn't have red sauce. It has barbecue sauce.
Right.
That's why it works as barbecue pizza.
But I don't think taco pizza has red sauce on it.
Everyone I've ever had
does. I've never had that.
Well, I think maybe I've had one, and I was like, that's gross. I'm not going to eat that again.
A taco pizza I've had usually has...
Now, Mexican pizza at Taco Bell, that doesn't.
That's not even a pizza.
It's, kind of.
This is like round, flat cracker thing with cheese, meat, and...
Super good, though. But the point is, like, the red on it is, like, taco sauce. So maybe that's the key.
I think a taco pizza I've had, it's been, like, refried beans and sour cream as, like, the base, then everything else is on top of it.
Huh.
Yeah, so it never had marinara sauce.
Yeah. I think that's the problem when people try to make those, though. If you use marinara sauce, then that's the problem.
But what about marinara sauce on a hamburger?
See, that doesn't make any sense to me. Because then it tastes like you're trying to make a hamburger that tastes like pizza.
Then it's a meatball sandwich at that point.
Well, yeah, but the meat on a meatball sandwich is flavored. It's seasoned in a way that a hamburger is not. Yeah, I mean, it's closer, for sure. But
because, I mean, academically, a hamburger has...
It's a squished meatball.
Well, I mean, but the stuff you put on it, like you could put sliced tomato on a hamburger, which is tomato. You can put ketchup on it, which is tomato. It's just a different. So, the marinara sauce has to have another component, whether it's the garlic or the herbs or whatever, that differentiates it from fresh tomato. Or ketchup is like sugary and kind of sweet. Which, I mean, there's sugar in marinara sauce too, man. Yep. So it's the garlic, I would imagine.
Yeah, probably.
So get rid of garlic and oregano, and then you can make.
Well, and like if you make a sauce, if you make a red sauce and you put sugar in it, that tastes different than if you put brown sugar in it. So when I used to make spaghetti sauce from scratch, I put brown sugar in it. It was super good, but it definitely has a different flavor. Now I don't know how that would affect a burger between those two, but with pasta, there's a pretty significant difference. Anyway, I don't think it's a good idea.
I wouldn't order it.
Burgers should stay where they are. Pizza should stay where it is.
You're mixing flavors.
But hey, everything belongs, right? Isn't that what we said earlier?
That was that's a tie back, everybody. That was a good one.
I think we should wrap it up on that.
Yep.
Take advantage of my tie in there. Where can everybody find you?
Oh, you can check out Instagram at the PI Workshop.
The PI Workshop. We should post some pictures on the Instagram for this podcast. No Instructions Podcast on Instagram.
Yep.
Of the status of these lions. So if you're listening, you want to see where we're at, you're not watching, then go there and check that out as well. And actually, real quick, while we were at Maker Faire, we had a lot of people come up and talk about that they listened to this and they liked it.
It made me feel so good.
It was really cool.
And a couple people were upset that we missed the week.
Yeah, my bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you for everybody that came up and said something. And if you didn't or you weren't there, I hope you're enjoying it anyway.
Right?
Yeah. You can find both of us at I Like to Make Stuff on most everything. I guess that's it. Oh, if you like what we're doing and you want to support it, it's kind of just a part of the whole I Like to Make Stuff media enterprise. I don't know. Whatever. It's part of everything. Good. So if you want to support I Like to Make Stuff at all, go to patreon.com/I Like to Make Stuff, and that's the best way to kind of help us out. Or you can buy some stuff and support us. That'd be cool too. I like to make stuff.com/shop. Okay, that's enough. See you guys next week.
We will have one piece of no instruction swag on the shop soon enough.
That's true. Probably before this show goes out.
Oh, really?
Yeah, why not?
I don't know. Because we don't have the other pieces yet.
Okay, in the very near future.
Super cryptic background stuff.
All right, see you guys next time.
Bye-bye.